Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So, Winston is an incredibly popular hero at the moment. He's one of the most important heroes to play according to a Reddit post by TIS Robin. This was said by two of the Korean coaches of Lunatic High and Runaway, saying how they're putting their best players on these heroes just because, whilst yes, he's a very basic and easy hero to pick up, he relies a lot on game sense, communication and coordination, which is where the real challenge with playing Winston comes in. In fact, when it comes to playing properly in a team in solo queue competitive, I would say that Winston is probably one of the hardest heroes to play, just because, yeah, he's basic, he's straightforward to pick up, you don't need a lot of skill to play him, but there are many mistakes that you can make that you may not realize it when playing Winston that can seriously disadvantage your team and make your chances of winning very minimal. So in this video, I want to go over 10 major mistakes that I do see a lot myself, and this is experience from me that's playing a lot of Winston currently, and also the likes of XQC and Numlock, who we've spoken to in the past. The first mistake is jumping in onto an objective or a person without an actual plan of attack. You see this a lot, maybe with a lot of people tilting as well, jumping onto an objective and dying instantly, because Winston is a big guy, he can get taken down fairly quickly, so it's important that you know what target you're aiming to kill and what you're going to do when you reach the objective that you're trying to take. Instead of just jumping onto a point where Reinhardt, Reaper and stuff are who will just tear you apart, be patient, bide your time, and say you see a Zenyatta out of position, that's a good opportunity to jump on him and to punish that. That takes a lot of coordination and communication with your team as well, but just basically don't leap onto an objective when you have no idea who is there or what you're going to do once you get there. Mistake number 2 comes into this slightly as well, which is preemptive shielding. Let's say that you're attacking first point on Hanamura, you're walking through the choke, the fight is happening on the actual point, there's a soldier shooting on you from the high ground, and you put your shield down and then dive onto the point. The problem there is that your shield is your only way of mitigating any damage coming in, and you've used it before the actual fight that you need to be part of. It's really more of a habit that you need to learn to break, but it's just one thing to bear in mind before you actually do what you're wanting to do. So just be aware when you do it, I guess. Number 3, fairly similar, don't leave your shield once it is placed. Let's say instead of a Zenyatta that you're jumping, it's a Mercy. You jump onto her, you put your shield down, everything's going perfect, and she flies back to her team for safety. Now you don't have your leap up just yet, you could give chase, maybe kill her, but again, you're leaving your only mitigating ability, so you don't want to be caught out of position, say if a McCree or Reaper decide to jump you. You want to make sure that you have your shield there and just dance in and out of it to make sure that these heroes can't get an easy shot on you. Even if you're, 5-10 yards out of your shield, it's pretty much next to useless and you will get mowed down fairly quickly. Mistake number 4 is forgetting to peel for your team. Now peel is a bit of a buzzword that we've had recently. It's all about protecting your teammates like your Zenyatta or your Mercy who may be getting jumped by a Genji. It's all about jumping on them, protecting them and being a nuisance to anybody that's trying to kill them. Winston's really good at attacking a backline, and I think there's always that assumption that you should always be there attacking the enemy, but sometimes you need to be more conservative, protect your team, and thus peel for those less than tanky heroes. Number 5, a big mistake, don't ult if you want to do DPS. If you're nano boosted, for example, as a Winston, don't ultimate, you don't do more damage. Or say if the Zarya on your team has grabbed 6 enemies in her Graviton Surge, don't use your ultimate to kill them. You do more damage with your normal laser shot and it still hits multiple targets anyway. So really, it's not worth using a big cooldown ability in a situation where you just don't have to. Mistake number 6 is fairly similar on the same stretch of Primal Rage, and it's underestimating it. You see a lot of people talk about those ultimates that don't really do much or are just boring and bland, and Winston's name usually is on that list. And yeah, it's not a flashy ultimate, it's not one that's going to get you lots of kills, it's not going to get you play the game unless you knock everybody off the map, but it's incredibly important. It's really good for stalling an objective if you want to buy yourself some time. It's really good at ulting to kill somebody if you're low on health, just to make sure that they go down, and then you can also get out with the little health that you have left. And it's also really good, say if the enemy Genji, Soldier or McCree use their ultimates, it's really good at just jumping in their face, whacking them about a bit and making sure that they can't get full use out of their ultimate. You're just a massive cock block basically. So learn to be really annoying, and it's very similar to Lucio's sound barrier. It's really easy to use it at the wrong time, but you've really got to trust your gut with a lot of these situations and just gain experience in doing it. Mistake number 7 is forgetting to reload. Now we did a video quite a while ago going over habits and other reloading was on it, but this isn't really a habit that applies to Winston. His reload animation is fairly quick, and much like Roadhog players, you end up in this really embarrassing situation where you've got an enemy on the back foot, they're about to die, and then you you awkwardly have to reload. So it's just making sure that you don't end up in that situation where that happens. If you have an opportunity, say if you're leaping in the air, good opportunity to reload. If you're away from the enemy and you can't reach him, good opportunity to reload. Just be aware that you have as much ammo in your clip as possible before you try and kill the enemy. Mistake number 8 is just saying nothing. Not using comms, not communicating with your team. This is a skill that Winston players need to rely on, and this has been the main thing when it came to upping my game on this hero in particular. You see heroes like XQC and Numlocked make callouts as well, making sure that players know where low enemies are that they can kill, and just making sure that everybody's on the same page. If you're not communicating with your team, then you are just a massive ball of ult charge for the enemy to get, and you can't be surprised that your team aren't helping you in situations where you really need it. Winston's incredibly good at engaging on the enemy, kill confirming on the enemy, but he's not very good at doing both. He can find it really difficult to jump in on the enemy and just mowing them down with how little damage that he puts out. So a lot of the time he needs help doing that. Genji, Tracer, whatever, that's why Dive is so strong right now. So you need to speak and you need to talk. If not in comms, at least in text chat. A penultimate mistake is being afraid to trade. Now, this is more of a MOBA term. In those situations where you feel that you're going to die, you could maybe make it out, but the chances are slim. Then just make sure that the target that you're about to kill can at least go down. But this is more about knowing those situations where the death of the enemy that you're about to kill is much more of a problem for them than you dying is for your team. If you're defending on Dorado and you're right by the enemy spawns and you kill the Mercy right at the start of the match but you die as well, that's a bigger problem for your team than it is for theirs, because the Mercy doesn't have ultimate, she's not going to use it, and she's back in the fight a lot quicker than you are. So learn when it's worth dying. That's the main thing about tanking, learning when to die in a lot of situations. So again, gut instincts, gain that experience and learn when is a good opportunity that I'm going to die, but I'll do my best to try and kill this Zenyatta as well, because that's as important. And finally, know when you're feeding. Winston is a massive ball of ult charge for the enemy team, and if they're running a McCree, Soldier, Reaper, Roadhog, all of these counters, much like any other hero, don't be afraid to change off them. Don't try and one-trick this hero. It's not going to work. I can play a lot of Winston because if it goes to shit, I can play Reinhardt, and that works just as well in a lot of situations too. And also Diva as well, eating up a lot of damage. So yeah, that's just more of a main thing that if it's not working, please switch. You see the pros use him a lot and very rarely switch off of him, but this isn't the pro scene, this is competitive. You need to bear that in mind. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go over. This was a fairly long video in comparison to what we usually do, but there's a lot of information in there for those opportunities where you may have to pick up Winston on your team. He's a hero that you've heard a lot about, maybe you want to learn all of the things that you shouldn't really be doing with him. Well, hopefully this is a good start. The rest is just about gaining experience and practicing it for yourself. But if you do have any other tips, put them in the comments below. Hopefully you like peanut butter, and until next time, take care. We'll see you then.